Welcome to yet another episode of Career Guidance and Development in Africa, and I'm in Uganda. Oh, it's always nice and lovely to be in Uganda. And today I have a lovely lady who once upon a time was my boss. So I am nice and humble today. So anyway, Dorothy, you're very welcome to our episode today, and we're going to talk about career development.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I would like to know who you are. I know you were my boss. What are you currently doing and growing up? Is that what you envisioned becoming?
Wow. Do you have all day?
No, I have a few minutes.
Okay. Of course, my name is Dorothy. I am professionally, I am a human resources and management development professional.
Yeah,
I've done this for over 20 years now.
amazing.
Over 20 years. My schooling was actually in communication. Or maybe I should backtrack.
Yes.
When I was going to A level,
Yeah.
I was one of those students who more or less passed every subject at the same level.
Oh,
So it wasn't really clear which combination I would take.
yeah.
But because most of my friends were doing sciences, and because it was the in thing, even at the school I was at, I opted to try sciences in the beginning.
Okay.
And at that time, I thought I would become maybe a pharmacist
Okay.
or even a doctor.
Wow, I didn't see that science part of your life. Okay.
So a little down the road of A level,
Yeah.
I'm like, no, this is not working. So I actually made a switch, a complete switch. And all along, I had always enjoyed my arts.
Yeah.
Everything flowed free. I was especially good at literature and English.
Yeah.
And I realized that, no, this isn't working. Let me go back to my would-be comfort zone.
Yeah.
So then I switched completely and I went to do the arts and passed very well and went to the university and did communication. That was about 3 years. When I finished university, when you're in that space of looking for a job,
Yeah.
somebody offered me an internship
Wow.
in HR.
Wow.
They said, we don't have communication, I'll give you HR.
Amazing.
So I went in for the 3 months to do the internship. When the 3 months ended, they were like, but you seem to be enjoying this, you seem to be good at this, why not try out for a role? And I guess the rest is history. I've never
Wow.
actually practiced the communication, at least not formally.
Yes. Yes. And how has that been, knowing that, well, you studied communication and that's what you wanted to do, but somehow switched into HR? Has that been an easy role? Has it been complicated? What has been your easiest or funnest part of practicing HR?
Actually, I found it quite a natural transition.
Yeah.
For some reason, I really enjoy working with people, although incidentally I'm more of an introvert, but when I really get to know people, I really enjoy being with them and working with them. So the transition wasn't difficult. I embraced HR and I actually went back to school to study HR so that I could be qualified to do it. And I don't regret that decision whatsoever.
Okay.
So what's the easiest part? Is embracing people and supporting them to grow and to enhance their potential.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that and I love to see people flourishing and thriving.
Yeah.
The not so easy part is when it comes to things like restructures where you have to let people go, there's a disciplinary issue.
Yeah.
I struggle with that so much because these are adults, these are fathers, mothers, there's a whole family behind them.
Yes.
And for you to implement a decision like that
Yeah.
comes from quite deep down and it's difficult to do it, and yet it's inevitable at that point in time.
So are you still practicing that today? What are you currently doing? Is that what you still do in your current role?
Yes, I do. I've been doing HR for over 20 years, like I said.
Yeah.
I'm still doing HR. I currently work with the Capital Markets Authority. I lead the HR function there. But in addition to that, because I enjoy helping people grow, I'm doing quite a bit of mentoring and coaching on that side, but also, of course, with my staff.
Wow. So I have young teenagers, young adults who are watching these episodes, and they would want to know, what do I need to do? What do I need to study? What skills do I need to have to excel at a particular interview for a job? what would you tell those teenagers and adults out there?
Wow. An interview. To excel at an interview.
Yes. Because, people, an interview is given, a job advert is given. And of course, we will just apply. But then, if you are lucky and you're called for an interview, how do you handle yourself? Especially if I'm a first timer, I've just graduated from the university, what do I do?
Okay. All right. First of all, I figure that by the time you have been invited for the interview, of course you went through a shortlist and you were selected.
Most probably, yeah.
I think the first thing is appearance. First impressions matter. So the way you turn up for an interview really matters.
Yeah.
No matter what the interview is, unless it's maybe, what do we call it? Maybe unless it's a job that is sporty, where you probably have to wear sports clothes. But even then, if it's a formal interview, you show up formally dressed. We never go for interviews dressed casually. We have to look the part and show up formally dressed. So it's first about your appearance. And then, of course, it's about your demeanor, the way you present yourself.
Yeah.
Even when you think that you're not as confident as you should be, find a way in yourself to look confident.
Yeah.
Because interviewers spot lack of confidence from a mile away. So find it in yourself to muster up all the courage you have in yourself and be confident. And then, even before you enter that room, tell yourself that you can do this.
Yes.
You can do this, and go in with that positive mindset that by the time you've gotten to this level of being shortlisted, you're actually worth this role and you can actually get it. But of course, prior to that, you should have done your research about the organization. Thorough research about the organization, what it does, what kind of people it's looking for, what are their values, what's their culture like, so that by the time you're answering these questions, you fit yourself into the mode of being an employee in that organization, and it doesn't look like it's mechanical or rehearsed. The other thing you need to do is to prepare all these other answers to all these other uncomfortable questions, the ones around what kind of salary do you expect, know your worth. Know your worth. Determine before you go what your value is and what value you can add, and know your worth so that you state a figure. Again, interviewers do not like to hear, oh, please pay me according to your structure.
Yes, and that was what I was going to say. People that I have interviewed, they're like, you know what, you guys have a structure. You guys have something that you work around with, your scale. Tell me your skill and then I'll tell you. I'm like, no, you are worth something. So that's a very good point.
So they like to know that you actually know what your worth is. They may or may not pay you what you've asked for, but they need to know that you know your worth. But as well, prepare questions for them, questions that will portray you as someone who is really interested in this role and who really can add value.
Okay.
It looks very strange and very... Actually, strange is the word. If at the end of the interview, the interviewers ask you, do you have any questions for us? And either you say no, or you say, when will you get back to me? That's the most obvious question. That's the most obvious question, and we all expect it at the interview. But we need to hear from you regarding a question that will put you in a light where they will remember you. They will remember you and say, but that candidate, even if they met 30 or 40 people that day, or even 5 or 10, make sure that by the time you come out of that room, you have stood out in a positive way and they will not forget who you are.
So do you have some questions that you can share with the world out there that we can ask the employer, like, that panel, these are some of the questions, at least 3 or 4 that we can ask?
Wow. On the spot, 3 or 4?
I know, yeah.
Okay. There's one that will help you understand the role better. And also understand what they're looking for. You could ask them, what does success look like in this role to you? Okay. So then they'll be able to give you feedback on what they see as, if somebody was doing the role, what thriving in that role would mean. Maybe another one would be, what pain points do you think this role should be able to address? Because ideally we are recruited to provide solutions. From a certain level we're recruited to provide solutions. So what value are you going to add to take away whatever it is that they're struggling with and need that role to do? then all the other questions will probably revolve around the company, depending on what company it is. You should, having read up on it, you can be able to come up with some very intelligent questions that will show that you're forward-looking and that you're actually looking to add value.
Okay. So, Bitasha Consult and this particular podcast, our emphasis is on career guidance. Do you think career guidance has a role it plays in people becoming who they need to be, better employees, better people who come and serve in the particular roles that you advertise? Do you think career guidance has something to do? Maybe you should answer that part first.
Yes, Sheila, it most definitely does. Unfortunately, in our nation, we have not embraced it properly. Like I gave you my background, I started in the sciences because of peer pressure.
Oh yeah.
And perhaps because it was the in thing and that's what everyone was rooting for.
Yes.
But that wasn't what my would-be passion is.
Yeah.
Or it wasn't also the area where I would have been able to thrive.
Yeah.
So, yes, career guidance is absolutely necessary. If I had had someone guiding me at that time, I would have known better at that time.
Yeah.
But also, the other thing we struggle with is the high levels of unemployment. So even when somebody knows what they would like to do, they settle because this is the job I've gotten, this is the place I've been given a role, they're going to pay me, so why should I hustle and look for what I really want to do when I can start here and hope maybe in the future to get what I really want. So yes, sometimes we are confined by the fact that unemployment is a big issue, so we just settle, and yet if we had been guided correctly, we would land exactly where we want to. It's just that it would have to be a matter of time.
Okay. What would be your advice to the nation of Uganda on career guidance? Like someone who is in HR, you receive people, all sorts of people, all sorts of applications. What advice would you give out to the teachers, schools in the nation of Uganda? How can they cultivate the culture of career guidance and youth? And it's important, you say it, but what can they do to make sure that it's enhanced?
I believe every school that really, really wants to add value to its students and really wants to see them grow and reach their potential should incorporate career guidance into their curriculum. Whether or not it's formally there in terms of this is what it should be in the curriculum, I think it's important that it's incorporated and that they actually have people that understand career guidance who are trained to do it come in and speak to these students. Because again, the struggle starts at school. Trying to find out what you want to do and where you want to be. A number of schools have embraced this and slowly by slowly it's beginning to catch on, but some of our more traditional schools haven't yet seen the value. But the thing is, it's not even a hard concept to adopt because most of the parents with children in these schools are probably finally in their dream careers and they can actually give back by coming to give career guidance to the students. It doesn't even have to be somebody paid. Parents can come back and give this career guidance. Former students can come back and do this, just as long as you open that door and allow for it to happen.
Amazing. I think what I hear Dorothy say is that all schools should have like a careers day. A careers day when you invite people of different professions to share their ideas and their wisdom. But also these parents or these particular people can become mentors, should I say, to the young children, to the young adults out there who are trying to pursue being an engineer, being a photographer, being anything that they want to become. Just have those sessions, let them keep running day in, day out, or month in, month out, quarterly or half year, so that people can know what they are good at, how can they identify their passion, how can they identify what they are good at, and once they do that, then they're able to go and out and excel, because Dorothy will not have a hassle or a problem employing someone who is actually passionate about team building, about communications, because they studied communications and that's what they are passionate about. But if she employs someone who is doing communications but they are not passionate about it, I don't think that's a good employee, is she?
No, because they won't give you their best.
Exactly.
They won't give you their best.
So let's try out to make sure that we advocate for career guidance in our nation and everywhere in Africa, that children should know what they are good at, what they are passionate about. So,
And maybe what I could add, Sheila,
Yes,
to that
yes.
is, and career guidance doesn't mean we push them towards the traditional careers.
yes,
The doctor, the
yes,
teacher,
yes.
the lawyer, the banker.
Yeah, yeah,
Our children have skills and they have talent.
true.
And people have made careers out of the most extraordinary things. So it's to allow the child to open up their mind and explore
Yeah.
what and who they can be, and not put a cap on it. Not put a cap on it at all.
Amazing. So you can do anything if you put your mind to it. I have a question about technology. AI is the norm. And of course, technology, apart from AI, is evolving. What kind of technology or tactics should an employee have to come and be the best employee in a certain organization?
All right. First and foremost, there's a misconception that AI has come to take away our jobs.
Oh, yes.
It's such a huge misconception.
Yeah.
Yes, there are things that AI will do which human beings can also do,
Yeah.
but to an extent, there are certain things that only human beings can do which AI won't be able to do fully.
Okay.
So my take on this is we need to open our minds
Okay.
and embrace technology,
Yeah.
embrace AI in all the ways that will make it a positive addition to our workspace and our careers. If I can focus mostly on human resource, there are companies out there that are using AI for the pre-selection. You know how you do an advert and you get so many people applying, hundreds and hundreds of applications?
Yes, yes, yes.
Traditionally, we use the manual approach. People go through one by
Oh,
one.
yes, yes.
But if you adopt AI, if you adopt technology, it can do that pre-selection based on the advertisement that you put out.
Yeah.
So that you weed out all those who probably just applied because they need a job and not because they meet the requirements of
True,
that particular role.
true, yeah.
But in addition to that, AI can also do the pre-selection tests, like psychometrics,
Yeah.
like any kind of saving or screening tests that do not have to be personalized.
Yes,
It can do that bit for you.
Yeah.
But it can also support you with the creation of the reports that come out of recruitment and all that. I also believe AI can support in what we call HR metrics and analytics. And that's one of our strongest tools for doing reporting in human resource.
Yeah.
Reporting that supports decision making, that supports putting about the changes that help our organizations grow. So my take is that we should embrace it 100%
Yeah.
and see how we can use it to add value to the roles that we do and make us even better at what
Okay.
we do.
Okay. So apart from technology, what are some of the other skills that you look out for when you're hiring someone to be part of your organization?
Okay, that's a good one. Some of them are not necessarily skills, but they are traits, should I
Okay.
say.
Yeah.
Personally, whenever I'm on a panel, I look out for attitude. What kind of demeanor does this person present? In the way they respond to their questions, in the way they are interacting with us, do they show that they have the right attitude in terms of
Yes.
wanting to join us?
Yeah.
But of course, this can also be measured through psychometric tools and things like that.
Yeah.
People's behavior and their disposition towards something. Because I think one of our biggest struggles in the workplace is employing people just because they passed an interview
True.
and not because they're actually a good fit for the organization.
Yeah.
So it's important to look out for their attitude, their cultural fit,
Yeah.
and not just because they aced the written interview and the technical. Yes, they can have all that, but once they come inside, how are they treating everybody else?
True.
How are they working with others?
Yeah.
And all that matters in order to build a team that will move an organization forward. So personally for me, attitude and fit really matter. By the time you apply for a job,
Yeah.
make sure that you can fit into that organization and you have what it takes
Yeah.
to fit in. The other trait I would look out for is probably self-awareness.
Okay.
This stems from what we call emotional intelligence. We would like to know that the candidate actually knows who they are
Yes.
and how they present, what their strengths are,
Yeah,
what areas they need to develop in. And if someone is vulnerable enough to show that they are self-aware, because some of the things we know about ourselves are not very pleasant. We don't want other people to know about them.
Yes, of
But
course.
if you're able to express yourself with vulnerability and say, yes, sometimes I am impatient,
Yes.
or sometimes I can be a bit too intense when I'm dealing with people because I
Sure.
want them to do things perfectly,
Yeah.
then the interviewer will not necessarily take it as a negative trait, but will see it as you being able to understand who you are
Yeah.
and be aware of it, and
Yeah.
thus start working on it to be better or to be different. So self-awareness is another one
Yeah.
that's really important
Yeah.
in my understanding of the modern workplace.
Yeah.
I think those are the ones that are not the traditional ones,
True.
or they have the experience,
Yes.
or perhaps they have team playing skills, or they
Yes,
have
yes,
communication skills.
Mhm.
I think it's a little more than that in this modern workplace.
Wow. Wow. So people out there, teenagers, young adults, attitude. Attitude, like they will read it, they will understand it. So there's certain things that we prepare for an interview, and we know we are ticking all the boxes, but do you realize that attitude, no one will ever tell you we are going to interview you about attitude. No one. So let us make sure that as we come for these interviews, we are well prepared and we have the right mindset to what we are applying for. Or if they've called you for an interview that you actually didn't want but you're there for the money, be honest. Yeah, be honest, and either you come and say I'm here to learn and make money, or don't come. Yeah, because it takes a lot for HR to hire someone. But if you come and you do not deliver, that means they have to either give you an improvement plan, which takes a lot of time. You're not even performing. If you can't meet your KPIs, I mean, it's hard. So let us be honest with ourselves from the very start on what we are applying for, and is that what we really want to do. Talking about what we really want to do, how does one identify what they are good at? How does one identify what they are passionate about? How does one know that this is the career path I want to take?
I'd like to say it's a gut feeling, but not necessarily.
Yeah.
My take is that what is that area which, when you're involved in it or when you're doing it, you do it effortlessly.
Awesome.
Like it comes easily. You
Yeah.
don't struggle.
Yeah.
But also you enjoy it. You actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
That whether someone paid you or didn't pay you for it, you would still enjoy doing it.
Okay. Okay.
But then again, later on, it has to be an area that you can actually be paid for, that you can turn into,
Eventually be
yes,
paid
a
for,
money,
yeah?
an income generating something.
Mhm.
So that is how I look at career now. Back then, of course, I used to
Yeah.
look at it as, oh, you have to do something. These are the jobs that are available.
Yes.
This is what everyone studies to do.
Yeah.
So you have to study to be this or that or the other. But now my mind has been opened, and to me it is that which comes easily for you, comes almost naturally.
Yeah.
You enjoy doing it, you do
Yeah.
it with a passion,
Yeah.
and at the same time you can turn it into an income generating venture.
Awesome. You mentioned that you're a mentor. As you mentor people, there are some who are quick at learning, or who have the self-motivation, who know that I'm good at this. But there are those, even if they are good at it, you will tell them and they'll still not believe you. How do you help those people get out of their shell to evolve and become who they really are?
Again, that takes me back to not so much the generation these days, but the way we grew up.
Yeah.
It was kind of considered arrogant, or that you were proud if you decided to shine for what you know or for what you can do. So half the
Yes.
time we're trying to be meek and have false humility.
Yes. Yes.
So yes, there are people who still struggle with
True.
being able to show what they can do and what they can be.
Yeah.
And the way we support them as mentors, because mentors are not there to provide you solutions or to give you answers to your problems.
Yeah.
We are supposed to support you to introspect and be able to draw the answers out of yourself, because you actually do have them within you. If only you thought about it a little more, or you reflected a bit more, you actually have all the answers. So how we support such people who struggle to shine for what they really are, for the stars that they are, is that, one, you keep affirming them. Every time they do something right, you affirm them. And slowly by slowly, that helps build their confidence. But also, there are times when you just have to throw them into the deep end. You present a challenge and you say, I know you can do this, go ahead and do it. Or you ask them something and you know that they'll think that it's too much for them, but you push them to draw out their inner self, that is who they really are, and can actually achieve bigger things than they think they can. And the other thing is to just, we give assignments during this mentorship, to give assignments that will challenge a person to be better, or to actually draw out that potential that they have, which they are not seeing at that particular moment.
So parents are in a way mentors.
That's right.
I'm sure your children look up to you for certain guidances, and maybe education could be one of them. And I don't know about your parents, but there are certain parents who used to impose, or even today still impose on careers for students or their children on what to do. As a mentor, do you think that should happen today? Like, you as a parent, would you tell your daughter, I know you are good at engineering, so you should pursue engineering? Or, I didn't become an engineer and I need an engineer in this family. Would you do that? Or what is your take on that path of life?
Oh wow, Sheila, that sounds like a trick question, because I know I have been in that space before. But it's just that now I'm more enlightened. And I recall a time when, and actually have several friends who went to school. Their parents paid their fees, they paid their tuition at campus, they did these courses. But as soon as they got that degree, that paper, so to speak, they dumped it and then went and did what they really wanted to do. They actually never went into the actual study that they did at school. I have a friend who did the sciences, you know, that whole peer pressure thing. She did foods and nutrition at university, but right now she's a certified marketer.
Wow.
And actually now she has even evolved. She's moving into the social space. She's trying to work on things that will advance social economic development.
Amazing.
So her science degree is way behind her right now. So I don't think that we should push children in a particular direction. Yes, we may recognize traits in them that point to a particular area, but let the interest come from them. Let the interest come from them, and once you see interest in something, support them to nurture it. My son enjoys football so much. He kicks anything and everything. Even if something falls on the floor, maybe, let's say, a cup, a plastic cup, he will attempt to make it a football at that point in time, until he said, no, we don't do that. So in as much as I want him to go to school and to do the book learning, we have recognized that he actually enjoys football, and it's something that we need to support him to grow and to develop. And actually in his mind, he's going to be a footballer and earn all the money to buy his mom all the cars that she wants.
Amazing.
Because he sees what all these other footballers do and how much they're earning. But also he's actually really passionate about football. So we shouldn't prescribe. We need to let them dream and support their dreams in as much as we can.
Parents, you have heard from Dorothy, and she says we do not have to force them, we do not have to impose. We can support them. They know that they are good at something, and really, especially children in this age. I have a 10-year-old who tells me, that's what I want. So I have a 6-year-old who told me the other day, Mommy, you can't force me to do anything. I'm like, you're a 6-year-old, I can tell you to do anything. And she told me, no, I don't want to do it because you can't force me. I'm like, hi. So parents, we have a long way to go. But I think the way we love on our children, the wisdom that we share. I think if we give them the pros and the cons, then they're able to pick out what they want. Yeah, you want to be a footballer. If you got an injury, what would happen? How about you studied sciences, for example, and still pursued football? You have two options. Yeah, if one fails, you can pick up on the other one. So let us just give them options. If they think they still want to pursue football, let's support them instead of them wasting time. And I usually say wasting time, but then I think of the 6 years or the 4 years someone has studied medicine, and she decides to leave and go and do some social work somewhere. Has she wasted the 6 years?
I wouldn't say that. I think life is a journey.
Okay.
Of course, if she had had that guidance, that career guidance, and had started straight off from things to do with social work,
Yeah.
she would really be very far right now. But life is a journey. Sometimes we have to go through certain paths before we are redirected
True.
to where we need to be.
Yeah. So we should embrace those moments even when we are forced to do them, and see what are we learning from them. Identify the learning places, the learning points, and then use them as tools to become better people, I guess. Okay, Dorothy, as we wind our conversation today, what are some of the guidelines or the nuggets that you'd give students and young teenagers out there, or adults out there, who are pursuing a career but they feel they are not good enough? I know you've talked about it in the mentorship process. They are not good enough. They are weak at these subjects. They don't even know what they want to do. How do you advise? What should they do? What should they do?
Again, I'll bring up the mentorship thing again.
Is it easy to find a mentor? Sorry to cut you short. Because growing up, I wanted to find a mentor, but I didn't get one. I attempted to get one, and then she told me she wasn't out of the country. She was not in the country. And I was like, okay. And I met her daughter, and she told me, I'm looking for mom. I'm like, your mom told me she's not out. She's out of the country. She's like, no, she's supposed to pick me. Wow. And I'm like, okay, do you want to use my phone to call her? She said yes.
Wow.
So she called, and then I think the mom told her, I'm coming. From that very day, I chose never to find a mentor.
Oh dear.
So, how do you help me and the rest of the world who have been disappointed in finding a mentor to get a mentor? And actually, I know mentors are helpful because I have a few people that I'm mentoring. And I'm choosing not to become like the one I looked up to. How do you advise someone to find a mentor?
A mentor won't come and advertise most of the time.
Yes.
But it's look for someone who you aspire to be like. Not necessarily because they're a teacher, you want to be a teacher. But if there is ways about them or mannerisms or things they do that you would also like to adopt or you would like to learn from, approach them. Be bold. Have the courage to approach them. I am currently, we got a new boss, a new head of organization last year. And right from the beginning, I was like, you are becoming one of my mentors. I didn't tell her immediately, but I thought it in my mind because she is someone who, as a woman, has grown and has traversed many challenges to be able to get to the spaces that she's in right now. And yet she's able to give back. She's such an amazing leader. So I figured I can learn a lot from her. And I have purpose in myself to have the courage to, if I need something, to ask for it. Especially if it won't take anything away from the person to support me. And the other thing that always rings in my mind, what's the worst that could happen? Okay, maybe the person would say no. That is the worst that could happen. But what if they say yes? You'll have a mentor. So there's always people around us that we probably look up to, or we wish we could be like them, as we say. So reach out, have the courage to reach out. But then if you're a student and you're struggling with school and there are subjects you don't understand, remember when I talked about vulnerability and self-awareness? You need to have the courage to understand and accept that I'm struggling with this right now. I need help, and actually ask for the help. If there is another student who understands maths and is doing it really well, seek them out make friends and ask them to support you, ask them to help you.
Yeah.
I don't think we can do this thing called life on our own.
No.
And sometimes, even in the workplace, we are tempted not to bring off a stance like, oh, I know it all. Or if I show that I don't know, they'll think that I can't do the job.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's the person that's open to learning that actually learns and gets supported to get better. The one thing we should never stop doing is learning. There's always something new to learn from anybody and everybody.
Yeah.
I actually learn things from my children every day, especially technological things.
Yes.
I learn a lot from my children.
Yes.
So I have not put a barrier around who I should learn from. It's not somebody who is 10 years older than me,
Yes.
or somebody who is who has evolved in life and has become the best at what they do.
Yeah.
I can also learn from the very people around me, the people on my team at the office.
True.
I actually have learned a lot from them
Yeah.
because I oversee a team that is doing stuff that is not in my area. I oversee IT. I'm not an IT person.
True. Yeah.
I'm not a professional IT person, but I have learned so much from my IT people. So it's that willingness to learn and to actually ask.
Yeah.
In whichever space you're in, whether school or the workplace,
Yeah.
be open to learning, relearning things that you need to learn, and also unlearning those things that are not adding value to you
Yeah.
and are probably just tying you down and pulling you backwards.
Amazing. I don't know if I had mentioned that would be the last question, but I have one last question to ask you, Dorothy.
Sure.
Career change. I've interacted with, because of the kind of work that I do, I've interacted with people who want to transition from what they've been doing to a totally different career path. What are your thoughts? What are your guidelines on people out there who are struggling at their workplace, either because they don't like what they're doing and they would want to change, but they are afraid to change? They don't know where to start from. What would you say, and what advice would you give them?
I think for anything in life that we want to know or learn more about,
Yeah.
it's by gathering information. What is it about that area that you need to learn or
Yeah.
to know about
Yeah.
in order to make your decision?
Yeah.
Because we can only make good decisions if we have as much information as we
True.
need to have.
Yeah.
But also it's to come to a place where you, once you have decided that yes, I want to change my career,
Yeah.
have the humility to start from the beginning. Like start from the bottom if need be,
True.
and build up each day, each year, until you get to that place where you want to be. It may even mean going back to school.
True.
It may mean spending longer hours trying to learn that particular thing in the
Yeah.
office after people
Yeah.
have left.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of sacrifice. But once you have a heart that is willing to learn,
Yeah.
and a heart that is willing to advance and to move away from that which is not making sense into
Yeah.
that which you think will make sense,
Yeah.
that's all you need to be able to spur yourself on.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dorothy. If you are aspiring or if you want to change your career, it's possible. The most important thing you need to do is believe in yourself, gather the information you need to gather, gain the knowledge that you need to gain, and go for it. Do not hesitate. It's just the beginning, and you can make a difference in whichever world, whichever career you put your...
Oh, Sheila, another one.
Yes.
Networking. How could I forget networking?
Ah.
It's important to
Yeah.
get to know people that
Yeah.
are in spaces where you want to be. Again, the courage comes in. Do not be afraid to walk up to somebody and say, can I talk to you? Can I meet you?
Yeah.
I had a pleasant experience about a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
I was invited for an event, a Thanksgiving event in Jinja. And then I saw by then, he was the acting governor of the Bank of Uganda. So he was going around greeting people, and something in me said, Dorothy, go and say hello, introduce yourself.
Yeah.
And I went, and we even took pictures together.
Uh-huh.
And then a couple of weeks ago, we see an appointment in the press that he's actually now the governor of the Bank of Uganda.
Amazing.
So I was like, wow, I actually met somebody who who is now actually the governor. I should now go back and remind him that we met.
I know.
But what I'm saying is
Yeah.
that networks matter.
Networks, yes,
We need
yes.
to have the courage and the ability to go and meet people and engage people who will add value to our lives.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be the kind of people, especially when you're trying to grow your career,
Yeah.
who as soon as 5 o'clock clocks, you're rushing out, dashing home.
Yeah.
You need to network. Find spaces where you can get to know people.
Yeah.
Spaces like Rotary, spaces
Yeah.
like professional associations.
Yes, yes.
Mix and mingle until you get to know people that will
Yeah.
add value to your career.
Amazing. Amazing.
Sorry,
Thank
Sheila, I had to chip that
No
in.
worries, that's good. So we need to learn and we need to network. If you've missed any other word in this interview, in this podcast, please remember, make sure that you keep learning and keep networking. Thank you so much for watching and hope to see you in the next episode of Career Guidance and Development in Africa. Thank you so much, Dorothy.
You're welcome, Sheila. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.